Hello everybody. So I wanted to make a video about my own healing journey recently. I've been a bit quiet the last week on the social medias. Really, social media is not that much fun for me, but it is the way of the world. So I guess when I am going through something, I like to back off from the social medias. So yeah, for the last week, I've been a bit quiet for that regard. And I just thought that my recent healings or revelations or realizations, whatever you want to call them, may be relevant to share. Some of you may resonate with it all. And just for that, know you're not alone sort of sense. So yeah, I, was doing really, really well emotionally. Then, hit a phase of feeling quite stagnant, and the stagnation kind of went for a lot longer than I would have anticipated, although you can't really predict these things, but there's a sort of a lot been going on and coming up, and I guess it's in line with starting up a business, because whenever you set yourself goals or things that you want to achieve, massive tasks, putting yourself out there, like me recording these videos and putting them out there, and doing these sorts of things, obviously it can bring to the surface things within you that are not healed, that are maybe holding you back or me back from presenting my best self to you, or my authentic self. So yeah, I was finding that with this stagnation, or everything up emotionally, I was not responding to my kids how I would have liked. And that's been a big, massive thing for me. Is the whole reason that I had a spiritual awakening or began a healing journey was to become a better parent. Basically, that was my main driver initially. I was screaming at my kids. I was living in survival mode massively. I had massive anxiety and fear, and I don't know, just so many emotions. And I got overwhelmed very easily and found it very hard to control my emotions. So that's where my healing journey began, and suddenly I'm like, all this is sort of happening again, but not to the extent, once we begin to heal these deep-rooted traumas, when they resurface again, it's often not as intense as what it once was, because we've healed those, the first layers of it. So yeah, I was feeling disconnected, like I didn't feel like I could joyfully connect with my kids, and I was falling into victim mode, feeling that my kids were attacking me, and just, yeah, like it was almost like they were out to ganging up on me, against me, and just trying to make my life difficult. I had moved from, understanding where they are at, intellectually, emotionally, what I am giving or not able to give to them, how I am meeting or not meeting their needs. I've moved from a place of responding out of love and compassion and understanding to victim mode, and that they're out to get me. And this led to a few really challenging moments, I suppose you could say. But the theme that's been reoccurring in my healing, and I recently had an RTT session with my colleague Tanya, who I just love working with. She's amazing, to sort of address this. And it's just amazing to understand that I created armor, and I want to talk about this armor because a lot of people say that, you know, trauma survivors, like if you experience massive amounts of trauma, you create this armor, this shield, or the walls, or whatever, to protect yourself, because, you know, you're constantly living in fear, constantly on the lookout. Now, I am not a trauma survivor of that extent in this lifetime. So yes, my childhood was challenging in that it was tumultuous, it was uncertain, there was lots of yelling, I did get hit, my parents fought, lots of yelling, lots of fighting, I guess you could say, and that created fear in me. And so with this, so this isn't the level of trauma that we expect people to be really fucked up from. I mean, and you know, I'm not exactly fucked up, but this has created a massive emotional imbalance within me. And so I was, from the moment I was actually in the womb. So when we are in the womb, the first chakra to come online is our root chakra. Our root chakra talks about feeling the safety in our environment, feeling safe. And so when I came into my mum's womb and my root chakra comes online, we take on a lot of our mother's fears from her root chakra. And so when my mum grew up in the same kind of environment and she experienced, you know, that generational trauma, I sort of picked it up before I was even born, and it's become very clear to me that I developed fear from the moment I was in the womb. And then when I was born, I've been born with this shield up, constantly on the lookout. And the way it's been presented to me in, you know, meditations and stuff through visions is like I'm a little mouse peeking out of the little hole, checking to see if the coast is clear, seeing if it's safe to come out at all, and sort of like show myself, and, you know, and then quickly retreating. Oh, what was that? You know, so when we're constantly, or in my case, when I'm constantly living in fear of what could happen, like, you know, where are the loud noises, the yelling going to come from next, or what am I going to get in trouble for next, you know, when you're always getting in trouble. And I just also want to say that this is for my mum and dad. If you're watching this is absolutely, you know, in no disrespect to you or, you know, anything like that, because I understand the whole generational trauma thing. And I understand that you've done the best that you could, absolutely, and absolutely love you. But yeah, but I had this armor up from the moment I was born. And then, you know, that carried on into school. You know, you don't want to get in anybody's way who might say something to make me feel less than, you know, less than anything, make me feel bad about myself. You know, you just want to be loved and accepted by everybody. And so, you know, move through life with this massive shield of armor, this protection. And I just wanted to talk about this because I think most of us have this armor, and it's born out of, you know, different things. So in my experiences, it was the fighting, the yelling, getting smacked and stuff as a child. You know, for other people, it's a lot more extreme than that. For others, the armor is the people-pleasing armor because their parents gave them no love or attention. It was just like they didn't exist, and so they've done everything in their power to get the love and attention of their parents and anybody else around them because they're just craving it so badly. And so that might be their armor. So we all develop this kind of armor, and so we're operating from this need to protect ourselves as a child, but we carry this armor with us throughout life. And so when my kids are being overwhelming, you know, that's when my armor goes up. You know, they're out to get me. I need to protect myself because, you know, they're trying to attack me. They're trying to hurt me. Like, that's the story that was going on in my subconscious mind. Like, that's not what I was telling myself, but I know now that's the story that was going on in my subconscious programming without me actually realizing it. And, you know, as a parent, I feel like many of us experience this. And so it's really important to understand why we experience this so that we can, you know, truly connect with our children and be there for our children lovingly and compassionately. So that I just wanted to share that with you. I feel like there was something else I wanted to say. It mustn't be important. Oh, that's right. Yes. So with the generational trauma, the intergenerational trauma. So when we begin healing this, so when, you know, you as a parent, you decide to do things differently to the way you were parented. You know, maybe it's that your parents drank lots or took drugs, or there was substance abuse, and, you know, that kind of runs in the family. Everyone in the family is a drunk, but you decide, no, I'm not going to drink. I'm not going to pass that on to my children. Maybe it is the yelling, the hitting, that, you know, that's a big one, especially from my generation. You know, our parents didn't, more often than not, they didn't know the things that we know now about how the way that we talk to people, especially children, how it impacts them lifelong. So, you know, we were often, you know, children are seen and not heard sort of belief or, you know, environment, you know, constantly getting sent to your room, punished for having big feelings, all of that sort of stuff. So we, you know, we didn't learn how to hold ourselves, how to feel safe being ourselves, experiencing our emotions. So we didn't learn any of that. So we're having to relearn it now as an adult. And we need to, you know, reprogram our minds to feel safe, to be ourselves, because when we were punished for being ourselves or expressing our emotions or our feelings or whatever, we learn that it's not safe to do that. But so, yeah, so when we're healing this generational trauma, we're healing not only the trauma within us, but it's the whole lineage. And that's like, it's big work, and it takes a lot of courage and a lot of willpower to make that choice, to make that decision, to say, hey, no, I'm going to put a stop to this. It ends here. I'm going to learn a new way, and I'm going to pass that new way on to my children. And it certainly doesn't happen overnight. It's a long process, a very long process. And trust me, there's been a lot of apologizing to my children for the things that I have said and done that I'm, you know, not proud of. So, but yeah, so when we take on this massive task of healing that intergenerational trauma, we are processing it, healing the lineage, and creating space for the generations to come that are more loving and compassionate and accepting, or whatever it is that you needed to heal within your lineage. You're creating that space for what you need to bring in moving forward. And that is just for anyone out there who has decided to take this step, to make this change. I just want to wholeheartedly say, I see you. Congratulations. You're doing amazing. I know how tough it is. And thank you. Thank you for doing the work. And for anyone out there who this resonates with, and you can't seem to stop repeating the patterns of your parents, if you're treating your children how you were treated despite desperately not wanting to do that, then maybe it's time to dive deep and do some inner work as well. And if that's the case, you can head to healwithamanda.com to book a free chat, and we can, you know, just discuss where you're at and if and how my services could help you. So that's it from me for now. Thank you for listening. If you got this far, I really appreciate it. Until next time, have a wonderful day.